All right, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rebecca Simon Peter, and I am the author of Dream Like Jesus, the founder of Creating a Culture of Renewal, and the convener of this very special set of gatherings called Congregations in COVID-19, Creative Ways to Stay Connected. So this has been really wonderful for us to be staying connected in these ways. We're on day 7, and we've been gathering to deal with leadership, congregational leadership related questions so that we can pivot quickly, so that we can adapt rather seamlessly, and so that we can continue our ministries in the varied settings in which we find ourselves. It's designed to be a 30-minute sort of lead and learn. And what I'm finding is that we're all teaching each other as much as I am teaching any of you. So I'm really grateful to have this set of conversations that we are a part of. So in the chat window, if you're just joining us, go ahead and put your email address in there or phone numbers, ways that we can stay connected with you. I also invited you to put a note about a tiny miracle that you may be seeing. How is new life showing up where you are? In the midst of the coronavirus, where are you seeing signs of new life? How is God speaking to you and through you? How is the community coming together? Welcome to everyone who's joining us today, and those who will be watching this video later on. You are all welcome to be part of this conversation. So let's take note of the tiny miracles that are happening around us, because it's in the midst of times like this that we look especially for those miracles. And our topic today is bringing blessing out of crisis, turning crisis into blessing. And so let's just note, what do we already have going? Nice comments. Deeper connections with strangers. Tiny miracles. My kids are playing together, I'm assuming nicely. We have notes about owls and trees and birds and flowers, and people driving by the church and dropping off donations, sharing gifts of food, sharing money, giving in the time of need. People eating takeout to support local businesses. Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to eat takeout, and that's definitely one of them. So welcome to each of you. And I want to share with you a word from the scriptures. I've been finding a lot of comfort in the Psalms, and I want to share with you what I'm seeing for myself. Psalm 40. I waited patiently for the Lord. The Lord turned to me and heard my cry. The Lord lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire, and set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. The Lord put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and be in awe. Many will put their trust in the Lord. So with that good word, let's take a moment and pray. Let's lift up our hearts and our spirits. Gracious God, we thank you so much for this time together, to share with one another, to be empowered by one another, to find comfort and connection with one another. We pray in the midst of COVID-19 that we would continue to be empowered servants, and we would continue to be guided by your wisdom and by your strength, and that we would see tiny miracles to support us, to guide us, and to prompt us ever further in the life of faith. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, crisis and blessing. That's our topic for today. Crisis and blessing. Could you put in the chat window, what's been the biggest crisis so far? Could be personal, could be congregational, could be communal. What's the biggest crisis been so far?
Are you talking for us personally, for our congregation, or for the world?
However you see it. As a leader, what do you see as the biggest crisis so far? John Wesley said, "The world is my parish," and we are leaders at many, many levels. So yeah, I'm getting some answers. Deaths without funeral, separation from family, panic-driven living. Yeah. Finding out this morning I may have 2 confirmed cases in my congregation. I'll be talking with them after this call. Churches refusing to honor stay-at-home or social distancing. A son in California with a roommate who's sick, parents isolated. Confidence in leadership. Anxiety level, but also blessing because they're seeking comfort from the Lord. Yes, yes. One confirmed case in the congregation. Sister-in-law has COVID. Oh boy, going to chat with the nurse tonight before her shift. She had 5 die last night. Yeah, we are in life. We are in the midst of death. In death, we are in the midst of life. It's that yin yang of life and death happening all together. And I think it's, of course, more pronounced now. We're simply more aware of it and perhaps more impacted by it. And not being able to be with the elderly who are isolated in nursing homes. Yeah, so we're experiencing crisis at a lot of levels. There's the very personal level, a son who's sick, family members, congregation members. There's this sense of why aren't people doing what they should be doing, which is staying apart from each other? Where's the leadership? People looking to you for leadership and looking to the Lord and finding it, and some hits and misses, connecting with people. Clearly, crisis. We are in the midst of crisis. That's why we're having this series of webinars. And yet I think we're also seeing some blessings that are happening as well. You noted tiny little miracles. You noted ways in which people are coming together, a new level of generosity, an expected level of generosity. And throughout the last couple of weeks, you've shared with me clearly some beautiful examples of blessing coming forth from people. Now, here we are in, depending upon how you count it, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 of crisis. And the crisis will be continuing. It's going to become our new normal. It already is, but there will be new levels of new normal that we're experiencing as various new measures are taken. And going for the long haul, how do we see the blessings in the long haul? I want to share with you some of the blessings that I'm seeing, some of the crises and some of the losses that I'm seeing, because the crisis really does come from a sense of loss. And that's something we haven't actually just named, that there's a deep sense of loss among us. And that's, you stack enough of those up together and you get a crisis. Because all of a sudden, it's not just 1 or 2 things that are different, it's everything that's different. That signals a crisis. So I'd like to share my screen with you. And let's see how this works. Here's what I'm seeing as we turn crisis into blessing. When it comes to congregational life, there's just the simple fact of not being together, that we've lost our common meeting place for the congregation, that we've lost the common meeting places for community groups, and that we've lost the ability to do face-to-face worship. And I'm just going to deal with that first group of things right now. We've just lost that real togetherness that we count on. As I said before, communion and community are deeply related. Congregation has the sense of congregate in it. So here we are doing community, doing communion, doing congregation without the actual congregating, without the actual being together. Those are losses. There are the loss of touches involved in that, the loss of hugs, the loss of face-to-face contact. Honestly, the loss of seeing the people you don't really like. Who'd have thought we'd miss that? I mean, there's the people you miss seeing, and then there's the people you could sort of live without. There's somebody in my life, I'm not going to name any names, but there's somebody I could sort of live without. And I found myself yesterday thinking about this person, quoting this person, missing this person who I thought, who needs him? And it occurred to me, oh my God, what if something happened to this guy? Would I miss him? Yeah, I would miss him. I would miss him. So friends, enemies, frenemies, we're not really seeing much of any of them. And there's a missing in that. So I want to talk about some of the gains that are actually coming out of that. Yeah, we don't have the stuff we don't have, but my God, people, let's look at what we do have. Let's look at what you all have created in the last 2 weeks, fairly miraculously, I would say. Online worship, online prayer, online Bible studies, online communion. Oh, I didn't even put in online pastoral care visits. Y'all have gotten very creative very quickly. And some of you have thought, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that. And then all of a sudden, you're doing it. Here you are. I was reading on Facebook yesterday where one pastor was saying, I'm wiped out. All of a sudden, I've had to change the entire way I do ministry, like within a week. The whole thing is just different. And so if you are feeling tired, and by the way, that adds to the sense of crisis and to the sense of loss, it's just that physical sense or that emotional sense of exhaustion. Like, man, I am giving, giving, giving. It's not like you're out there running marathons unless you're Ernie, but you're giving in this new way that has you tired because it's taking new neural connections, new brain cells, new ways of thinking about things, and probably new worries and new concerns. So we have that whole business of not being together and the gains that are coming from that, the blessings that are coming from that. Secondly, we've got the matter of finances. Like, okay, we're not passing an offering plate. It's not super easy for people to give like they've been used to giving. And some of you have been in the middle of capital campaigns. Some of you have been counting on pledges and pledged giving to receive that. You might be in the middle of a stewardship campaign. We're seeing something though, the blessing, the gain here is that there's online giving. People who've been thinking about giving online or wanting to give online are now moving into that. You as a leader are creating the space for that to happen now, that people actually have a way to do it. And you may be finding that there's more people giving. Many of you are finding that there are more people worshiping than there once were. Because you now have online worship. I've even heard about church hopping online. I'm getting to the traditional service, I'm getting to the contemporary service, and people are all over the place. They may be worshiping more than they ever have in the past. I expect that as you continue to practice the online giving and making that available, teaching people how to do it, letting them know that it's out there, you will see increased generosity, and you will actually see new generosity. In part because we're now in a crisis mode. People give when there's a really distinct need. They're less likely to give if it's just to meet the budget or to sort of keep things going if it's business as usual. Clearly not where we're at today. We're not at business as usual. A third area of loss or crisis is the building. We do love our buildings. Even if we hate them, we love them. We're used to them. They have been the shelter and the identity, the location. We have church in our churches. That's the crisis. And, upkeep and payments, mortgages and all that. But I think I dare say the blessing here is that this thing called COVID-19 actually got you out from your building and the inward focus on the building out into the community, even if it's screen by screen out into the community. You're out there. And Lord knows, I know many of you from creating a culture of renewal. I know we've been working on this for a long time together, how to move from that inward building focus to the outward focus. It just happened. Thank you, COVID-19. You did for us what we could not do for ourselves. You accomplished something that many of us have been trying for a long time to do. So there's a real blessing in that. And I don't want us to overlook this because right now, I'm sure it feels like a pain in the butt. At the same time, let's look for the blessings that are here. All right. The next thing is missions and ministry. How do we do missions and ministry when we can't actually get to people? And the loss of life. If you haven't experienced loss of life in your congregations and in your communities, this is sort of a separate one, but they're in the same box, you will. You will be experiencing a loss of life. You will at the very least experience a loss of contact and worry. Okay, so-and-so's sick. Are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? And then, of course, the normal way that we do funerals, where we're actually together. We haven't even talked about online funerals. Many funeral homes are not allowing funerals, but maybe a graveside and a memorial service at a later time. Maybe just the family. I've been reading about people trying to do online. Facebook Live seems to be less apropos for a funeral than it does for worship service in understandable ways. So there's a loss, not being able to be with people, not being able to be with the body, not being able to be with that person at the end stage of life. That's part of our ministry. That's part of our mission to people. On the other hand, what I see happening, the blessing here, is that people are moving from sort of a hiding in the pews or safety in numbers in the pews, protection of the pews. They're literally moving from discipleship, following you or following Jesus, as the case may be, to being out as apostles. They're sent forth. They're out there. The ones out there. Distributed ministry is what we're doing right now. People in their homes, people in their communities. You're still that presence for the church, which is very important, and that people are equally engaged or able to be moved into that position where they are equally engaged. And I want to encourage you to keep moving people out there so that you're not doing it all yourself. That is one of the reasons I think people are so tired, is that they're still trying to do it all themselves. There's the exhaustion of learning a new technology and pivoting really quickly. That takes something. If you're doing all that and you're still doing it all by yourself, it's time for you to move from single-handed ministry, Lone Ranger ministry, to Jesus kind of ministry, where he engaged his people, he used his people, and they got on board and they got jazzed because all of a sudden they got to be the maker of miracles. They were the ones delivering ministry. We want always to be moving in that direction. There are some other losses, watching over people, the way you sort of watch who came to worship this week and how are they doing, and just that shepherding function of pastoral leadership, of congregational leadership, and frankly, the ability to celebrate together, not just celebrating communion, but the birthdays, the anniversaries, those little milestones in life that we were used to celebrating together, face to face, skin to skin, flesh to flesh, body to body, as it were. And now the upside is you're finding creative ways to stay connected. And I really want to acknowledge you for that. Okay. You all are doing an amazing job of pivoting quickly, pivoting creatively, and then pivoting once more as the weather changes, as the needs change, as the social distancing requirements change, as your people's situations change. You all are doing a beautiful job of going with the flow. And that's why it was so important for us to be together yesterday, to have those moments of self-care and soul care so that we could be replenished for the journey. All right, this is what I'm seeing so far. And I'm going to share with you in a minute some other mindset changes that I see happening, but I'm going to stop sharing right now so I can see everybody in the room. And let's have some comments on that in the chat window. Are there other crises or losses that have not yet been named, and or any other blessings or gains that are particular to your situation that you would like to acknowledge and lift up? Go ahead and put that in the chat window. The Great Corona-19 Reformation created a Google Doc with the membership list where we can track who's contacted, who, when, and what might be needed. Choir director organizing a Zoom hymn sing for everyone. Had to mute voices because of lag time. Yes, that's the one thing that's really tricky on Zoom, is singing together. I haven't heard it done well yet, except when everybody's muted, but heard the musicians who were in 3 different locations. Seeing friends was great. Singing, very important. Yes, thank you for sharing that. New people being empowered to do ministry. And a crisis that hasn't yet to be named: high school youth, anxious about graduation, ceremony, and prom. Oh my God, how do you do online prom? I have no idea. Stay-at-home order has been issued for neighboring counties, so there's another crisis. Oh, here's a lovely acronym, a new one for us, LENT, Learning Exciting New Technology. Thank you, Lynn, that's excellent. Plans and expectations for Holy Week, out the window. You got to pivot for that again. Yeah, so that's a crisis, that's a loss. And then a blessing, sort of crisis-driven blessing. The move to live streaming worship was accelerated. A steep learning curve, but we have stormed that hill. We have, and overtook it. Indeed you have. Indeed you have stormed that hill and taken it over. Yeah. Okay, so we have additional losses, additional worries that add up to the increased sense of crisis, and equally growing is that sense of blessing. I especially like the new acronym for Lent: learning exciting new technologies. We'll need another acronym for what happens at the end of the day after you've learned the exciting new technologies, like laying exhausted till next time or something. What's that one called? But yeah, a lot of really great things that are happening, and of course, being here together. And the ideas on virtual communion. Thank you. Yeah. So we do, that's the cool thing about us, right? Us people, is we aim to be a blessing to each other. And in order to keep being that blessing to each other, we got to make sure we get fed and that we get blessed. So let's take a look now at some of the blessings, people, some of the blessings that have been coming from this in terms of mindset. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I really had fun thinking about this, preparing today's presentation for you, because I was thinking about some of the quick mindset shifts that have happened. Now, I, as creating a culture of renewal faculty and developer, I've been working, for years. Okay, how do we get these shifts in mindset? And I just want to say, thank you, COVID-19, because it has done for me and for us what I think in a much quicker way than some of our other strategies. So how many of you dealt with the resistance mindset? We've never done it this way before. All of us. All of us. Now, what's the new mindset? Oh, let's try it. Anything to stay connected, okay? So the specter of death of the congregation, losing the building, that didn't do it. But all of a sudden the doors clang shut. Oh, sure, yeah, let's try it. I've heard the most amazing stories about the way churches have been coming together, collaborating with members of the community. So there's this openness now where there was resistance. I say, people, let's celebrate that, okay? Hell of a way for it to happen. Let's celebrate that, because this is what we've been after, is moving out of that resistance place to the openness place. It's now happening. All right, another quick mindset shift. We have to wait until they tell us who we are, and they tell us what we can do, i.e. General Conference. Thankfully, General Conference is postponed. Now, it would have been nice to have certain things settled, blah, blah, blah. However, this actually allows us to practice faith. I didn't even put this in here. Before, we sort of knew it all. This is how it goes. This is what it is. Now, my friends, we're actually practicing faith, which is walking forward, trusting in God without knowing one little bit about how things are going to turn out. That's faith. But the real thing here about this quick mindset shift, we're no longer waiting on them. We can't sit around and wait. It's about ministry right now, right here, with these people in front of me. There's an immediacy to it. And instead of sort of putting it off on them, they're going to tell us, then we'll know what to do. Now we have ownership. We have to have ownership. And your people have to have ownership. So everybody who's sort of been waiting, you're off the hook. You don't need to wait anymore. You get to decide. You get to choose. You get to be a disciple. You get to be an apostle. You get to empower your people. It's right now, right here. This is the time. I give thanks for that. I give thanks for that. I don't know how it's all going to work out. And we actually get to practice faith in a way that we haven't really had to, because we've known so much about how things are. Now we don't. All right, another mindset shift. Before, hey, it's all about the building. There are shadow missions in every congregation. Usually they look like, whatever you want, pastor, as long as the floors don't get scuffed, or as long as the kitchen doesn't get dirty, or as long as the kids don't interrupt what we're doing. And now building has moved aside as an issue. It's not even like, we're not even worried about, well, maybe we are worried about the building. But what I want to say is maybe we don't even need a building. All of a sudden, here we are, people doing church without a building. I'm not saying it should be that way. I'm not saying that's the best way, but look, isn't it freeing in some ways? All of us who wondered if we could do ministry without a building, answer, yes, you can do ministry without a building. All right, another mindset. Before, well, we don't know how to connect with people in the community. Now, you might not have said that, but some of your people are saying that. We don't know people in the community. New mindset shift. We are the community. We are the community. Because we're not coming together into a building that separates us from other people. We're in our homes. Guess what? We are the community. And you are now the community. whether you're live streaming from the parking lot or from the church building or your home or your home study or your bedroom or your kitchen table, everybody's now the community because there are no more divisions. There's no more lines that separate us. We're online, people. We are the community. We are the leaders. We are the community. We are the body of Christ. All right, before, another mindset shift. It was about membership and who can I get to come to church and discipleship, sort of that hiding behind the protection of the pews or in numbers. Now it's all about apostleship. Your people are sent forth, and will you keep empowering them so that they know they're sent forth and not stuck, not isolated, not quarantined? Reframe that they have been sent forth out into the community. So many people are starting online classes, online conversations. Physical location doesn't matter when we're talking about being sent out. What we're really talking about is flat in the sense that anybody has access. We're talking about distributed leadership. Distributed leadership. Anyone can lead. Anyone can get a free Zoom account. Anyone can lead. Okay. We've also gone from it's the pastor's job, or it's the district superintendent's job, or it's general conference's job, it's somebody else's job, to this is our work together. We're really in this together. Now, if you haven't quite made these shifts yet, or it hasn't occurred that way for you, borrow this, steal it. This is for you. This is new language for you in order to reframe how we're actually doing things, okay? Now, last one, I think this is the last one, but I can tell you this. Oh no, it's not the last one, but it might be my most favorite. And that is that as a congregation, as a church, as a community of faith, we're taking on what's manageable. We're taking on what's manageable. Yeah, we can have a worship for 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people. Yes, we can do a certain number of food bags a week. Yes, we can pay our apportionments at 32%, whatever it is we said we could do. It's manageable. We're operating in the realm of the manageable. That's off the table. Now we're taking on something larger than we are and larger than we have ever done before. We've never done pandemic before. Although I was talking to my dad this morning, and he said, the way I'm going into the grocery store and like sort of getting what's available and then coming back in and getting a little bit more what's available, he said, it reminds me of what it was like growing up during World War II. That's how we did it. So we've lived with rationing before, but we've never lived with pandemic before. And there's something invigorating, even if it's terrifying, about living into a future we've never lived into before. Because all of a sudden, people, it's inspiring. All of a sudden, we're in it together. All of a sudden, we're unified. We're coming together. I miss that guy I could have lived without. Okay. Your people may be missing you. Maybe they didn't miss you before. I don't know. But all of a sudden, we're in it together. And we're coming together around a common purpose that never seemed as important before as it does now. There's power in that. There's true power in that. That's the beauty of a crisis. It brings us together. After 9/11, the pews filled up. How long did that last? A week? 2? 3? It wasn't that long, really. The bump afterwards wasn't that long. We're going to be in this for a while. And you really have the opportunity to create new community and to continue to create it and to continue to refine it and continue to build it. And that's really beautiful. Now, the last one is we don't have enough money. That's the before. Here's a thought. Can we be the church without money? I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying that's the best way. I just wonder if we could be the church without money. Harkening back to my friend Todd Anderson, the district superintendent in the Ohio River Valley District, he said, I just came back from, I think it was the Congo, and they have beautiful, beautiful church. Very little money, but everybody brought what they had. Oh, it's a loaves and fishes moment, isn't it? It's a loaves and fishes moment for us. Yeah. So there's really something here. There's really a lot of beautiful blessing in the midst of this crisis. And I'd like to say that I think we don't even know how much blessing is here for us. Oh my gosh, we're at the end of our time together. Well, that went quick. All right. I was busy counting all the blessings, and here we are. I've gotten several comments from you. Please send us the list. We'll make sure that you get the list. In the chat window, what's a new blessing you just got present to that you hadn't seen before? What did you just get present to that you hadn't seen before? Put it in the chat window. While we're doing that, let me remind you, other resources, the 40 Days of Apostleship, all about moving from following to leading, all about moving from absorbing to being sent and being the message, being the change you wish to see. Blogs, social media, please follow me at Rebecca Simon Peter Coaching and Consulting Inc. And there you will see all the great resources. Also on the website, tons of video and blogs, etc. Feel free to use those in your worship settings and with people. And tomorrow is going to be our last of these sessions, Congregations and COVID-19, Creative Ways to Stay Connected. And guess what we're going to be doing? Visioning, dreaming like Jesus into the future. Now, how? I don't know. We don't know what the future is. That's the power of a vision. You begin to create the future instead of waiting for them to tell you, or the virus to tell you. You begin to create the future. We're claiming our agency, we're claiming our authority, and we're going to get creative together. That's tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you haven't put your contact information in the chat window, if we don't already have it, please do. We will stay in touch with you, and I love you all. It's a pleasure to be with you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care. Bye, everybody.